being live streamed, so that sounds good. Okay, so I think we ought to start. This is a lovely Friday in here in this well, I'm just north of London, so in this north of London zone is blooming cold, as we would say in England, but that feels a bit Christmassy, and Christmas always makes us think of stories, and stories are magical. And this evening we have wonderful magical people to bring us stories, people who I haven't heard tell stories, and that is always the best when I've got new stories and new storytellers to listen to. So without further ado, let us open the world. Let us go to the places we don't know exist yet. Let's have some stories. Thank you very much. Welcome.
All righty.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. And so, Bob.
Yeah, well,
So how do you want to proceed?
well, let's take turns.
All right.
I'll tell a story. You tell a story.
And then
If we
you'll
have
land
time, I'll tell another
perhaps
story.
another story.
So we're
okay.
Bob Kanegis and
Liz Manguel.
we're here in the land of enchantment, New Mexico. It's good to be back at the cafe. This is, I think, the third or fourth time telling for the cafe. So let's see, Liz. I'm gonna move over to the center.
Okay.
I'll see you.
And then I'll come back in
in a few minutes, and we'll tell a tale or two. Okay. And I'm just I can't see you, but for the folks that are live streaming, I'm going to imagine you. So I do see you, and hope everybody is feeling nice and warm-hearted towards each other and yourselves this morning. I'm going to start with a riddle, I think. I only have one eye. I have no heart. I change my tail every single day. And I have one tooth that bites along every day. What am I? One eye, no heart, a tooth that bites along, followed by a tail.
Oh, a silverfish. I don't know.
It's a tough one, but I'll give you the answer. It's a sewing needle. And I'm going to put that sewing needle in my pocket in case someone needs it later in one of the stories. Okay, if you're following along, I like to, instead of putting myself and other people to sleep telling stories, I like to count to 3 and then clap my hands right in front of my nose and say, well, once upon a time. Is that Louis I see there?
Louis.
All right, hi Louis. Good to see you. Alrighty, so we're going to do 1.
How are you?
1, 2, 3, and once upon a time. 1, 2, 3. Once upon a time. All right. Well, once upon a time there was a boy named Cookie Boy, and once upon a time I was named Cookie Boy. Although this story is not about this Cookie Boy. I was called Cookie Boy by my mother because she, especially around this time of year, liked to make cookies. And there was nothing that I liked more in the world than to lick the spoon and the batter before she put the cookies in the oven. And this is the truth. I even would ask my mom, can I lick the bowl? And I'd stick my head in that bowl that had the cookie batter in it, and I would stick out my tongue and get as much of that sticky dough as I could. So my mom naturally started calling me Cookie Dough Boy, or just Cookie Boy for short. Well, one day there was a boy who loved cookies as much as I did. And of course, his mother called him Cookie Boy. One day, Cookie Boy woke up. His dog, Juicy Bones, was going crazy at the window, barking, just going wild. Cookie Boy wondered what was going on. He looked out the window. What did he see? He saw a troll lady. She was holding her head in her hand. She had a sack over her back. Mom, there's a troll lady outside. She's coming this way. She's holding her head in her hands. She's got a sack over her back, said Cookie Boy. Mom was a little worried, but not too worried. She thought she could handle that troll lady just fine. She told Cookie Boy, hide in the closet, and whatever you do, don't make a peep. Oh, I won't do that, said Cookie Boy. The troll lady knocked on the door. Mom opened it. Yes, what would you like? And there was the troll lady. Is Cookie Boy home? And Mom had to tell a little fib. Oh, no, Cookie Boy's not home right now. Cookie Boy is out playing with his friends. He'll have to come back another time. That's too bad, said the troll lady, because I have something for him in my sack. I have a golden knife. When Cookie Boy heard that, peep, peep, I'm here. He jumped out of the closet. He went to the front door. He went right up to the troll lady. He said, where is it? She opened the sack to show him and then grabbed him and stuffed Cookie Boy into the sack, tied it up, threw that bag over her shoulder, and off she walked. And along the way, she was thinking about what she was going to have for dinner, because there was something that she liked even better than cookies. Little boys full of cookies. Cookie Boy stew. Cookie Boy stew. I'm gonna eat some Cookie Boy stew, she said. Now, it was a long walk back to her cabin in the woods, and about noontime, she got a little bit tired. So she put the sack down and she sat her back up against the back of a tree and began to snore. Well, Cookie Boy knew just what to do with that golden knife that was in that sack. He cut and he cut and he cut until he escaped from the sack. And then he filled the sack with some large stones that he found nearby, so that when a troll lady picked it up, she thought that Cookie Boy would still be there. But how was she going to sew up that sack? How was he going to sew up that sack? Where's that needle I put in my pocket? Okay, Cookie Boy, here's your needle. Okay, luckily he had a needle in his pocket. He sewed up that sack, left the sack there with the stones in it, ran on home. And of course, when Troll Lady woke up, she put that sack over her back, went on home thinking about Cookie Boy stew, Cookie Boy stew. When she got home, there was no Cookie Boy to cook, and she was sorely vexed. Well, the next day, Juicy Bones was barking like crazy again at the door. Cookie Boy looked out. Mama, she's back. The troll lady with her head in her hand and a sack over her back. Son, get in the closet. And this time, do not forget, whatever you do, we could all say this together, don't make a peep. Oh, I wouldn't do that, Cookie Boy said. Is Cookie Boy home? Mom had to tell another fib. Oh, no. He's out collecting firewood right now. Well, that's too bad, because I have something in my sack. I have a golden fork that he could have if he was here. Beep, beep, I'm here. Out from the closet jumped Cookie Boy. He hadn't learned his lesson, I guess. He went straight for the sack. He looked inside, and again, the troll lady stuffed it in, tied it up, put that sack over her back, and off she went. And you know what she was saying, right? Cookie boy stew, cookie boy stew. I'm gonna eat some cookie boy stew. And again, she stopped at the same tree to take a nap. It wasn't as easy to break out of the sack with a fork, but it had sharp tines on it, and he managed to work his way out. He filled that sack with rocks the second time, sewed up the sack. He kept that needle handy. Off he ran back home, and cookie boy stew, cookie boy stew. There was no cookie boy stew for Troll Lady that evening. And if she was mad the first day, she was furious the next day. She was a furious troll. And then it happened a third time. This time it was Milky Bones, the cat, who had her hair up, standing up, and her inner claws out, and the wild look in her eyes, looking out the window. And there, when Cookie Boy looked out, he knew what he was going to see, right? Ah, she's back again. The troll lady with the sack on her back and the head in her hands. Son, are you listening to me? Yes, Mom. Get in the closet, whatever you do. Don't make a peep. And Cookie Boy said, I wouldn't do that. Is it going to happen again? The troll lady knocks on the door. Mom opens it. Is Cookie Boy there? Oh, I don't know what Mom told her that time, but Cookie Boy was gone. That's too bad, said the troll lady, because today I have the rest of the complete set. I have a beautiful golden spoon that he can have. He did it. Peep, peep, I'm here. I'm here. Will this boy never learn? He jumped out of the closet. He went to the door. He looked in the sack, and he was stuck in the sack for a third time. And although the troll lady might not have learned her lesson the first two times, this time she didn't stop on the way home. Cookie Boy stew, Cookie Boy stew. I'm gonna eat some Cookie Boy stew. And she marched right up to her own house, opened the door, took that sack with Cookie Boy, and put it right down on the floor. She took a big, big cauldron of water. She put it on over the open fire. And then she told her daughter, yes, there's one more character in this story. Troll Lady had a daughter, and Troll Lady's daughter was, well, she looked exactly like Troll Lady, just a smaller version, except she had three eyes in the middle of her head. Daughter, Cookie Boy's in the sack, and we're gonna have Cookie Boy stew tonight. Now I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get a salad. I'm gonna get some poison ivy and some skunk cabbage to have with our Cookie Boy stew. And I want you to cook Cookie Boy just right. And he better not be underdone, and he better not be overdone when I get back. And out the door went the troll lady. Now, Troll Lady's daughter looked at the pot. Troll Lady's daughter looked at the sack, and she began to cry. I've never cooked a Cookie Boy before. I don't know how to cook a Cookie Boy. How do I know if the temperature of the water is right? I don't know what to do if my mom comes back. I'm going to be in a lot of trouble if Cookie Boy's not right. And from inside the sack, Cookie Boy said, peep, peep, I'm here. I'll help you. I know how to cook a cookie, boy. I'm an excellent cook. Just let me out and I'll show you how. You will? Of course I will. I would love to help you, said Cookie Boy. Troll Daughter untied the sack. Out jumped Cookie Boy. Hello, nice to meet you. Let's get started. Let's see. Is the water on to boil? Yeah, the water's on to boil. I don't know how hot it should be. Well, it has to get hotter, said Cookie Boy. Let's wait. And when the water was just coming to a boil, Cookie Boy said, now you need to see if it's hot enough. Just lean way over so you can put your finger in the middle of the water and test it to make sure it's not too hot and not too cold. And I bet everybody is guessing what's going to happen next. Troll Lady's daughter leaned over the pot. And just when she was concentrating on that water, Cookie Boy pushed her in and stuck the top right on the top of that pot. And then, remember those rocks that were still in the sack, that had been in the sack from the other day? Well, they were stacked outside the front of the troll lady's house. And Cookie Boy took those rocks and he took several of them up to the roof with him. And a little while later, when Troll Lady came back with her basket of poison ivy and skunk cabbage for that salad, saying, Cookie Boy stew, Cookie Boy stew, I'm gonna eat some Cookie Boy stew. Cookie Boy was up on the roof singing to himself, Troll Daughter soup, Troll Daughter soup, you're going in the Troll Daughter soup. And just as she opened the door, he sent those rocks flying down on her head. And I'm going to leave it there. Yes, Troll Lady never bothered a little kid again. Never. Now that pot of soup might still be boiling away somewhere in the forest. And if you're of a mind to have some holiday soup and you can find that place, you might have some Troll Lady Daughter soup. Enjoy. So that's my telling, my version of a story I found in a collection of troll stories from Norway. And I don't know if you have trolls where you live, but hopefully, you know, they play a lot of tricks, but I guess it's not that hard to trick them. Now, did Cookie Boy ever learn this lesson? I don't know, but let's hope so, because sometimes when someone tells you whatever you do, don't make a peep, maybe that's the time not to make a peep. But it's very hard for a storyteller, by the way. Not making a peep is one of the hardest things that storytellers can do. Well, thanks. Hope you enjoyed that story. And I'm going to turn it over to Liz for the next one.
Whoa.
All right, Liz.
All right, Cookie Boy.
Oh yeah, Liz calls me Cookie Boy sometimes too.
Hello, everyone out there. Hello, Louie. Hi, good to have you with us. Thank you for showing up. Well, I'm going to tell you, this is the time of year here in North America, in New Mexico, and in North America, where we're just approaching the darkest nights of the year. But then winter solstice is around, and on December 21st, right after that, the light will be coming back to us little by little, each day a little bit more. And so that made me think of this story that I'm going to tell you, which is from North America, from the Pacific Northwest. And it is a widely known story and widely told. And this is going to be my version of it. And let me just make a transition and warm up a little bit. Long, long ago, it was dark everywhere. It was dark in the morning, dark at noon, and dark at night. It was dark all the time. An old man lived with his daughter by the edge of the river in a small house with a smoke hole. And he kept the light inside a box, inside his house, in the corner of his house. He kept the moon inside the box, and he kept the sun in the box. And that is why it was dark everywhere. Well, that did not make anyone, the animals, happy, because they bumbled and tumbled and bumped into everything in the forest, and it was not fun. Now, one day, on one of those dark days, Raven was bumbling and bumping into things in the forest, and he heard a sound. He heard a sound, a faint sound coming from the distance. It sounded like this. So he listened, and he heard it some more. So he followed that sound. He followed the sound bumping into things through the forest. It was very hard to hop around in the darkness of the day, but he followed that sound, and as he followed, it became louder and louder. It led him right to Old Man's house. And when he arrived there, he put his ear up against the wall of Old Man's house, and he listened. He heard Old Man sing. He sang a song that went like this. Oh mine, the light won't shine. All around is dark all the time. The sun is in my box and the moon is too, and I won't share my light with you. Oh, when Raven heard that, he wondered, how can I steal that light from Old Man? So he waited, and he waited for the perfect moment for him to steal the light. And then one day, Old Man's daughter made her way out of that small house. She walked down a path that only she and her father could walk in the night. And she walked on that path towards the river to fetch some water. She had a basket in her hand. And when Raven saw her, he used his trickster magic, and he flew up into the air in the night. He followed Old Man's daughter to the edge of the river. Then he perched over her and waited. And just before she scooped up the water from the river into her basket, he changed himself into a pine needle. That small pine needle made its way down the river and right into Old Man's daughter's basket, and she took a sip of that water, and when she swallowed the water, she swallowed Raven. Raven went down, down into old man's daughter's warm belly. And Raven made himself real cozy and warm inside that girl's belly. And time went by. 9 months later, Raven, who was inside old man's daughter's belly, used his trickster magic one more time, and he changed himself into, well, a little baby boy. A little baby boy was born, and he was a funny looking baby boy. He had a long, sharp nose. He had big, dark eyes. He had feathers that stuck out here and there and everywhere from his body. But they couldn't see him, so they loved that little baby boy. Every day, they would tell that little baby boy stories. They would make up games and play around. And that night, Old Man sang his song. All mine, the light won't shine. All around is dark all the time. The sun is in my box and the moon is too. And I'll never share my light with you. Well, when the little baby boy heard that song, he jumped up and down on top of the box with the light. Old Man's daughter said, "My baby wants to play with the light." "No," said Old Man. But then he remembered how much he loved that little baby boy. And he opened up the lid of the box. He took out the moon ball, and he tossed it over to Daughter. Daughter tossed it back to Old Man. Old Man tossed the moon ball to little baby boy, who was really Raven, and Raven tossed the moon ball up the smoke hole and into the sky. And for the first time, all the animals in the forest had some light, and they were glad. But Old Man was mad. But then he remembered how much he loved that little baby boy, and he wasn't mad anymore. The next night, Old Man did as he always did. He sang his song again. All mine, the light won't shine. All around is dark all the time. The sun is in my box, and he remembered that the moon was not in the box anymore. And I won't share my light with you. Called the Raven, and he jumped up and down on top of the box with the light. My baby wants to play with the light, Father. No. But then he remembered how much he loved that little baby boy, and he opened up the box and he took out the sunball. He tossed the sunball over to Daughter. Daughter tossed the sunball to Raven. Baby boy tossed the sunball to Old Man. Old Man to Daughter. Daughter to baby boy. And the baby boy took that sunball and tossed it up in through the smoke hole and into the sky. And for the first time, there was light everywhere. All the animals were so glad. They jumped up and down with happiness. But Old Man, well, do you think that old man was mad? No, he was glad because for the very first time, he saw his daughter's face and he saw her big, beautiful smile, and she was beautiful. She was beautiful like the light of day. She was as beautiful as you and you and you, as we all are. And for the first time, oh yes, there was light everywhere. And little baby boy used his magic one last time, and he changed himself back into Raven. He tucked his wings, and up through the smoke hole he flew. Up into the sky he flew and flew, and he sang another song, a song of his own. The light is in the sky and the moon is too. There's light for me and there's light for you. And from that day on, that is why on December 21st, we are going to begin to get a little bit more and more light. Thank you for listening, everyone. And thank you for the people of the Pacific Northwest, the Native people who brought that story to us. Thank you. All right, Bob, you have another story, right?
Yeah.
Do we have time for another story? Sarah. Yay.
One more, okay.
Okay.
All right, let's switch sheets again. Okay, hi, everybody. Well, as sometimes happens, when I sat down here not that long ago, I was planning to tell one story. And something happened in the last few minutes, and I decided to tell a different story because I realized that Liz just told a story that had the moon in it. And last night, what a beautiful, beautiful night here in the land of enchantment. We look out over the Sandia Mountains, and I'd sort of forgotten what phase the moon was in. But suddenly I looked up, and just over the rim of the mountains, the full moon rose. And so I'm thinking about a story, well, about the sun and the moon, actually. So, and this is a story that was told a long time ago by Rabbi Nachman. And it was a little fragment of a story that a man named Howard Schwartz sort of stretched out a little bit into a version of the story that I'd like to tell you right now. So, well, here's a question. Well, who's most important? The sun or the moon? Who's more important, the sun or the moon? Well, they were having a conversation about that. Sarah, I saw you make a big round gesture there. What do you think? The sun, the moon? Well,
I think the sun, because it's warm.
You think the sun? Well, the moon said, yeah, well, right. But you do all your work during the day when it's light and warm. And I have to do all my work at night when it's cold and dark. So I have a harder job. I think I'm at least as important as you are. And by the way, my friend, it's cold at night and I really need a coat. I need something to keep me warm on those cold nights when I'm doing all my work going across the sky. Now the sun felt for the moon and said, you know, I will ask the tailors of the world, the people who sew clothes, if they can make you a coat. And I'll have them make a coat for you, and then they'll give it to me and I'll give it to you. I would love to give you a gift like that. Well, thank you, said the moon. That would be wonderful. And so the sun spoke to the tailors. the rich tailors, the ones who made fine coats and garments for royalty, for the kings and queens and princes and princesses. And they said, "Whoa, we would be delighted to create such a garment." But if you have, back in those days, you just didn't go into the store to buy the clothes you needed. Somebody had to make them. And before they could make you clothes, what has to happen? They have to measure you, right? So the first thing that the tailor said is, "We're going to have to measure the moon." There was only one problem. Can you imagine what that problem might be? Last night, the moon was full. But in a couple of weeks, is the moon going to be full? It's going to disappear. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it's a new moon, and you can hardly see it at all. And so that was the problem. Sometimes the moon is large, sometimes the moon is small. How can you measure a garment and sew a garment that's always going to fit the moon? And so those rich tailors of the world told the sun it was impossible. It just couldn't be done. Well, if you can't do it, the sun thought, I'll ask the poor tailors of the world, the ones who patch up holes or hem skirts or pants. Maybe they can do it. And so the poor tailors of the world got together, but they ended up having the same problem. How can we measure the moon, who is sometimes large, sometimes small, and make a blanket that will always fit the moon? They were almost ready to give up when a poor tailor named Yankel said, I heard there was a long time ago, it might have been my grandfather telling my father, that somewhere there is a land where they have a magical fabric. This fabric is so magical that it will stretch and it will shrink to fit whoever is going to wear it. If we could find that fabric, we would be able to solve the problem of the changing size of the moon. And everyone looked at Yankel and they said, okay, Yankel, you heard the story. You go find that fabric. Well, I'll try, said Yankel. Now his wife put together a pack of provisions and some simple food, and Yankel set out to find the magical fabric. Well, he walked and he walked from village to village, from town to town, and wherever he went, he asked people, do you know of a far off land somewhere where there is a fabric that stretches and shrinks and stretches and shrinks and will fit anybody large or small who wears it? When he asked that question, many people looked at Yankel as if he was a fool to think that such a thing could exist. And so he became known in his travels as Yankel the Fool. He walked and walked for days and weeks, months even. And one cold night, under his own very, very thin blanket, he stared up at the moon. Yankel was shivering. He felt like, I should give up. I should go home. And then he looked up in the sky and he saw the moon and he realized she was probably shivering too. He decided to keep going. And the very next day, he came to a river. And in those days, the only way you could cross the river was to take a boat, a ferry across. The ferryman would take you across for a small coin. And Yankel had been called a fool so many times that he thought it wouldn't hurt to ask. I'll ask this man if he has heard of that far off land with the magical fabric. And lo and behold, on that day, the ferryman said, oh yes, I know where that land is. It's right across the river. And if you would like, I would be glad to take you. And so Yankel traveled across the river, thanked the ferryman, paid him a small coin, and stepped out into what looked like a very, very prosperous village, a very well-to-do village. And he was so surprised because everybody that he saw had a very, very sad face. In a place that seemed like it should be so happy with so much abundance, so much beauty, everyone had a sad look on their face. He asked one of the people he met walking along the road why he was sad, why everybody was sad. And the man answered, well, I'm sad. We're sad because our queen is sad. And why is your queen sad? Oh, our queen is sad because her daughter, the princess, is old enough to get married now. And every princess and every bride for generations after generations has worn the same beautiful wedding dress made of the most incredible, beautiful, luminous fabric you have ever seen. But it is coming apart. The dress is coming apart. The princess can't wear it. There will be no wedding. And that's why the queen is sad. And that's why we're all sad. Yankel thought, well, I'm a tailor. That's what I do. I fix fabric that's coming apart. Tell the queen that I would like to see her. Oh, said the man, the queen has said if a tailor comes with knowledge, please bring him to the palace right away. Yankel was brought to the palace. He asked to look at the dress, and right before his eyes, he saw what the problem was. The dress was literally getting smaller as he looked at it. It almost looked as if that fabric was made from light, and it looked like it was turning back into light down at the hem at the bottom of the dress. And he looked and he looked. But the truth of the matter was that he had no idea how he would repair such an amazing dress. But he asked for some time. He said, Your Majesty, I'd like to look at this dress a little more carefully. Of course, Yankel said to the queen, please take your time. She had him brought to a small room in the castle. He sat down at a desk. There was one window in that room. There was just a tiny little bit of candlelight. Oh, I see firelight there, Sarah. It was kind of glowing, and there was just the glow of a single candle. And that night, Yankel studied that fabric. And then, as the evening went on, the moon rose, and suddenly a moonbeam came through that one window and touched the hem of the fabric. And at that very moment, what was unraveling began to reweave itself. And as that moon rose and flooded that small room with light, all through the night, the dress repaired itself with that moonlight. It was complete by morning. Now, before Yankel brought it to the queen, he thought, it wouldn't hurt if I snipped a tiny, tiny little square of this fabric, because this is what we need to make that great blanket that will stretch and shrink and stretch and shrink, a blanket made of light. So he clipped that small little square of fabric. He went back to the queen with the beautiful dress complete. Her joy was unbounded. She thanked Yankel. She offered him a great reward. He didn't need a great reward, he said. He already had exactly what he needed. He showed the queen the small little patch of little square of fabric and asked if he could take it home. Of course, she agreed. And of course, she insisted on giving him a very nice bag of gold as well for his wisdom and his trouble. Yankel made the long, long trip back to the village. How long? I'm not exactly sure, but I know that every night he would take out the fabric. It started off as that small piece, and when the moon was up, he would leave it out. And by the morning, that small piece of fabric was a larger piece of fabric. And the next night, it was larger and larger as that moonlight wove more and more and more of this wondrous fabric, until at last, Yankel came home. He had a fabric that would shrink and expand to fit the changing size of the moon. All the tailors of the village got together. They sewed a beautiful, beautiful blanket. They presented it to the sun, and the sun presented it to the moon to keep her warm. And tonight, if you go out, the moon will still be full or just full. And you look at that moon, you'll see her. And she will be wearing that beautiful, beautiful blanket made by the tailors, given to her by the sun. And she will wear it very, very proudly. Because if you think about it, it was made from her very own light. And that is a story that we call The Garment for the Moon.
Oh, that's lovely. I love that story. Oh, I've never heard that story before. That's so nice.
And that's just a little bit of commentary. When Rabbi Nachman told that story, he told that story in answer to a question from his congregation. They said, we're poor, we're simple people. Sometimes the world seems so broken, and we don't know if there's anything that we can do when we look at sometimes in the suffering of the world. And he told them that story to remind them and to remind all of us who have heard the story now down through the generations that we all have our own light. And with whatever light that we have, we can help repair and make this beautiful world whole again, where there are some patches that need repairing. Well,
that's lovely. Oh, wow. Louis, are you still there, or have you got to swimming yet?
I see him.
Hello.
Hello. How were your stories tonight? Was that good?
Yeah, Bob, I love your story so much.
That's good. We liked the moon, didn't we? The moon and the light.
Yeah.
Lots of moon and light tonight.
Yeah.
Apart from cooking up little cookie monsters.
Well, I don't know.
I noticed the full moon last night, just rising, and I had lost track of the face of the moon in the last month. And all of a sudden, I look out our back window, and it's facing the Sandia Mountains, and it was rising right over the mountains. And I got so excited, and that's what made me think of telling Raven Steals the Light. And it made me think of the winter solstice coming up, and I just love those turning of the seasons and sort of pivotal moments in time during the course of the year. So,
of course, there may be some folks out there who are in the southern hemisphere, and things are just the other way. So your days are getting ready to start turning a little shorter, and your nights are going to be a little longer. But that's the way the world turns.
Right.
As long as we keep on turning, we'll all be okay.
Yeah, well, that's right.
That's right. Well, we'll
yeah.
If we all keep moving, maybe the world will keep turning.
Sharing the stories, and the sharing of stories is sharing of love, isn't it? It's sharing beautiful things. Well, I think we need to end there because
All righty.
Meg has gone to sleep because I have a giant dog who thinks he's a pussycat.
Oh,
This big, and he walks all the way around like a
all right. Well, thank you, Sarah,
Thank
for
you, Sarah.
hosting the program today. And
yeah. Well, you're missing John Rowe being Father Christmas. I mean, it must be a shame.
it is. We miss
Well,
them, but
we miss him, but some people are enjoying
but
John Rowe
somebody
being
has
Father Christmas.
somebody has to be Father Christmas, so that's good.
Are you coming out to Marrakesh?
Well, it's a bittersweet story. I am coming. We both planned to come. We actually both had tickets to come, but there are some. We have a family with some health concerns who needs our
My mother.
Liz's
Oh,
needs
Yeah. So
needs her attention, and so sadly, it's going to just be me. But hopefully, Liz is going to join for some virtual
I
sessions.
will. I will. Yeah, I'm really
Mm.
sad about not being able to be there. Yeah. So
You,
but Bob will tell me stories about his experiences
And-
there and all of the wonderful people that he will meet. That was
Yes.
that was part of what I was really looking forward to the most, really, was to be in the presence of all of you. Are you gonna go?
yes.
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 Well,
Yeah.
good, Sarah. If I don't see you online before then, I'll look forward to meeting you in person.
Yes.
And everybody out there who's listening on Facebook Live or live stream, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Yes. Yes.
Louis, I hope we'll see you next Friday because it'll be the last one before Christmas. I'm not sure we're doing one on Christmas Eve. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah. Are you still swimming next week or is it last night?
no, this is my last one this week.
Okay. Have a wonderful swim and let's hope we'll see you again soon. Bye, Louis.
Louis.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy
Bye, everybody.
holidays.
Bye,
Happy winter
bye.
solstice.
Bye, you two. It has been wonderful meeting you and the lovely stories this evening. And it's
Thank
just
you.
brought warmth into our hearts
Yes.
and the sun and the moon and the light. So
Yes.
we'll see everybody again soon.
Thank you. Stay
Bye,
warm.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Cafe
Bye.
steering us through this epic journey. Bye.
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 See you, Louis. Have a great swim.
I will. Let me just end this now.